We're back with more on Real Estate Update. What's changed over the years here on Hilton Head Island. James Wedgeworth joins me. Okay, you want to take it decade by decade on the island, which maybe we should have done at the start, but we're doing it now. Okay, you want to start with the 50s, even though you weren't here then. Go ahead.
Here. I was not here, I was somewhere else, but the bridge was built in 58. There were homes. I recently sold a house that was built in 54.
Wow.
But there are not many of those left. They were in two places. They were in Folly Field and they were in South Forest Beach now. You had homes there. When the bridge was built in 58, it made it so much easier to come. 60s was what I tell people. They say, you weren't there in the 60s, do you know what it was like? I've talked to people that were here, and there weren't really a road system to speak of, so it wasn't a vacation area yet. And then when the first, it was called Heritage then, golf course, which I think it was 68 that Arnold Palmer won, and they called it the shot heard around the world because he hadn't won in like 4 years, and that was a really, really big deal. And that was we had the golf course then, and we had the tournament, and then from the rest is history.
Yeah. You know what, I got to meet him. I feel so fortunate.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when he did a redo at Wexford, he came and did a little talk on the driving range, really charming guy. But he had said at one point he and his wife had thought about moving here, but too bad they didn't talk to you, but ended up moving down to Florida instead, but they loved Hilton Head.
Love Hilton Head.
Yep.
So during the 70s was the first growth spurt. Most of the condos in Forest Beach, Sea Pines, Palmetto Dunes were built in that time period, but it was still South End, beach oriented heavy. There was nothing on the other side of 278.
Okay.
So in the 70s, it became a premier resort. People all over the country started coming here. Then the 80s, you had Long Cove, Westford, Hilton Head Plantation. In the 90s, you Indigo Run, Palmetto Hall, probably Windmill Harbor picked up. But the 70s were the growth spurt, and we became famous during the 70s. We were pretty active in the 80s. The real estate market was fairly slow in the 80s. The real estate market picked up in the 90s. And then all of a sudden you had a growth of the non-beach developments. Westford, Long Cove, Palmetto Hall, Indigo Run, Hilton Head Plantation, Windmill Harbor. Those really started growing in the 90s, and then the rest is history.
Okay, let's go from 2000 to 2010. What happened on 9/11? Did that have any influence on the market?
It really didn't affect the market. Okay. You know, we had a couple slow weeks right after that, but it didn't affect what really hurt us was in 2008 was when the stock market crashed. And that was the slowest market we've ever seen. And
talk about excess of inventory and people that walked away from second mortgages. I mean, the foreclosures everywhere.
At one time, I'd say it was 2011. It could have been 2010. 1 out of every 4 houses sold on Hilton Head that year were bank-owned foreclosure properties. And it was tough. It took us basically 10 years to recover from that. And then, of course, COVID came along, and everybody in the world
people were buying without looking, except online, right?
Yeah, and it changed everything.
Have you seen anyone leave that came down because of COVID?
No, they're not only not leaving, they're bringing their friends with them. Which is why, and we'll probably don't have time to talk about this now, but next step we could talk about how that is influenced going forward and the stability of Hilton Head Island.
Okay, we're going to give you a final moment here to say, what do you see? Can you give us any predictions for the next, let's not do 4 years, but say for say the next few years or 10 years from now?
Well, how about 10 years?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
We used to always say in real estate, you can't project that far out. You can only project in 3 to 5 year time periods. But I see Hilton Head is now being known by the whole world. And what affects markets, if you have more buyers than you do sellers, prices go up. So that's what I predict.
James Wedgeworth, great to have your perspective.
Always good to be here.
Thank you so much. And thank you for watching this edition of Real Estate Update. I'm Allie McNair.